I've never seen anything like it before, and to attempt to hit the ball out of there is pure madness.
The winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Cameron Smith.
This is the one that I've always wanted to win since I was a little kid. So it just feels pretty amazing to be able to get it done today.
It's amazing that it's my destiny to be the first Aussie to win. Just incredible.
Hello and welcome to episode 16 of Playing from the Tips, the preview and tipping show covering the wide world of professional golf presented by Golf Australia magazine. I'm your host, Jimmy Emanuel, and this week we have the latest designated event on the PGA Tour at the Jack Nicklaus hosted Memorial Tournament, a brand new event on the LPGA Tour at a familiar venue from men's golf, and yet another event on the DP World Tour with a rich history in the Porsche European Open. Helping me to wade through all of that are two of our so-called experts, with the first being the hardest hitter of a space bar in golf journalism and the doyen of golf podcasting, Rod Morri. Welcome to your own studio.
Thank you very much. I've actually broken a couple of space bars in my time. This thumb has done some damage. Don't worry about that.
It's a serious thumb too, so it's no doubt. The third member of the crew for this week finally seemed to slow his tipping rate last week, suggesting maybe his golden run in life was coming to a close. But I'm sure he'll tell us otherwise.
Yes, it was coming up.
It was coming up, yeah.
Not coming up Logue anymore.
Golf Australia's man so far in left field. He sits in the bleachers. Adrian Logue, welcome.
Thank you, Jimmy. I think just point of order. I think I'm still leading the tipping by some significant margin. But
yeah, tournaments are 72 holes, mate. Don't start.
That's right.
Don't start trumpeting the lead after 36. Okay?
In the FedEx Cup of tipping world, there's still a lot of events to go, and big ones too. As we always do, let's look back before we look ahead, and a quick review of our tips last week. That was a tough return for the so-called expert community, with just 3 top 10s added to our ledger that now sits at 13 wins and 96 top 10s for 2023.
Worst week for us?
I'd say that's probably right. Yeah, I think
cuts
so.
And nothing.
There was not a lot for any of us at all, so I'm not sure what that was
Even
about.
The great one.
And Max Homer in the top 10, I think I had.
Yes, I think you did.
Yeah.
I had a top 10, I think, and there was another one out there as well, but who it was and what they did it with, I'm not sure.
Anyway, we move on.
So we move ahead to this week, and the first cab off the rank is the PGA Tour and the very familiar The Memorial Tournament presented by Workday. Logue, you're going to take us through this one and perhaps start by explaining to me why the T of the in the Memorial Tournament, which is part of the tournament name, is not capitalised.
I wasn't aware that that was a question without notice.
Frustrates me every year. I see it on the schedule. The Memorial Tournament is its official name, but it's not a capped T on the.
Send Huggy a message because he'll be there getting his award this week.
Of course. Yeah, big congratulations to Golf
when he goes up
John
to shake
Huggan.
Jack's hand, ask him. The only thing you need to ask him, Huggy, is what's going on with the T in the Memorial.
That's true. We will get our man.
I've never noticed that.
We'll get our man on the case. But yes, John Huggan receiving a... is it a...
It's every year they give it away.
Yeah. Recognise a member of the golf media who's done exceptional work, and John Huggan
you're right too.
Yeah.
It's a lowercase T.
That's completely derailed me.
The good thing about that is it means it's not a popularity contest. Huggy's won it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's true.
It's a genuine award for
correct.
for work done. Congratulations again, Huggy. I know he's a bit embarrassed about all that, but he shouldn't be.
Did it make a bronze plaque out of his head?
No, you only get that, I think, for the player.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
There's no wall of journos?
I don't think so.
At the Memorial? Maybe they name a milkshake after you.
Yes,
or the Huggy with a double scoop.
Bitter
yeah, that's right.
It's just got
it's spicy.
It's got milk and yogurt.
It's got half a lime in it.
Yeah. Enough. It has too. It's got a lowercase T. I've never noticed that.
All right, Logue, tell us something important about the event.
To move on from that. I guess your first question is, who is Workday?
Sure.
Okay. It's an American on-demand financial management, human capital management, which is a horrible way to refer to humans, I think.
Yeah.
And student information system software vendor. So
okay.
Oh, you know.
Big supporters of
Patrick
golf.
Reed for a long time.
No, they do sponsor, I think, still currently Matt Fitzpatrick. They were a Mickelson sponsor, and they were a sponsor of a couple of the COVID-era PGA Tour events, including the extra one they played at Muirfield Village, which is where the memorial is as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because they sponsor a few players.
Davis Love III as well.
Okay. And this is the memorial is another fake invitational.
Yes.
And they have some sponsors exemptions is the closest they get to an actual invitation. I don't see anybody posting their invitation on social media when the memorial invitation comes in.
Well, it's got a lowercase t. How could you? It'd be embarrassing.
Yeah. So like the Arnold Palmer and all these other so-called invitationals, this is just another faux invitational where you've got actual sponsors exemptions.
It's watered down over the years. All those invitationals,
really
the same
Correct.
things happen. The all-exempt PGA Tour has slowly but surely just crept to the point where the invitational is name.
Yeah, this event was for a long time a lot of invites based off Jack of Australian players,
That's
European
exactly right.
players,
Yep.
players out of Asia.
Bob Shearer paid the first two.
Bob got a couple of invites, and they still get those things. I mean, Dave Micheluzzi is playing this week, and that's not an invitation, but it's much more, this is the preset invites that go out.
Sponsors exemptions.
Yeah.
Which every tournament has these days.
Yeah.
And it is interesting to look at that arc of the history of the Memorial Tournament. It started off being Jack's tournament. He built this course, Muirfield Village, when he was only 34 years old in 1974. And it was co-designed with Desmond Muirhead. Just a couple of years later was the first Memorial, 1976, which Roger Maltby won. And
Lost the check, if I'm not mistaken.
he did too. That's
Yeah.
right. There's a great story about that. Was that
Drank for about 3 days, woke up, couldn't find the check.
What's that in the thing about golf? I think it was.
Yeah,
Great story.
Huggy's interview with him, fabulous.
And for a time there, it was considered one of the very top tier events on the PGA Tour, and also almost referred to as a fifth major. It's interesting to see how all of those really top tier events in the PGA Tour over the years get sort of homogenized down. This is one that's, I think, resisted that more than most, but we've arrived at a point in time, I think, where it's now a designated event, and it's hard to differentiate the prestige of these designated events. It's just it's a designated event which has uplifted all of the designated events, but the memorial is just. I guess you would now say it's just another designated event.
Yep.
Once again, I'll never forget Jeff Ogilvy saying this on a State of the Game once. He said, every year you go to the Masters and people talk about how amazing it is and all the stuff they do that's different that sets it apart. And all of those tournament directors all go away and for the rest of the year
do the complete
opposite.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing. The tournaments like the Memorial, they go and fall into line with the PGA Tour and they just chip away at what made them different to the point where they're
It's the same thing. And the way I think of it is now the future for the Memorial, you can only think about it becoming more homogenized. Like at some point,
especially once
Jack's
won't be
gone.
That's what's happened to Bay Hill.
Yeah.
And look at Byron Nelson.
Yeah, correct.
It just disappeared off the radar as a tournament of any importance when Byron died. Like literally the following year, the field was half the strength it had traditionally been. And it had been coming down for a few years before.
Memorial is one of those events that Tiger prioritised, obviously because of the Jack connection, and that lifts its stature.
It does, yeah.
And everyone else did too.
Say to Logue, Jack also became more relevant because of Tiger, because suddenly for 15 years all we talked about was the record.
Chase.
And so whilst Jack was not a part of the playing landscape in any way, shape or form, he was constantly in this conversation because of what Tiger was doing. And that's all sort of coming to an end. So this cycle for the Memorial is really
interesting, yeah.
That's right. So there you have it. It's the Muirfield Village is a very tough test of golf. I think it's familiar to most listeners of this podcast. To me, it's the quintessential bunkers in the rough golf course. It's
perfect place to
the
honour
defining feature of it. Oh, of course, Huggy will be so pleased.
What a place to get an award for Huggy. Everywhere he looks, it'll be annoying.
Bunkers in the rough. I don't know if there's a single bunker that's not in the rough. Greenside bunkers, fairway bunkers, they're all deep in the rough. Great piece of land, though, and it's got genuine teeth. It's particularly difficult closing stretch. Yeah. It's a real examination.
That 18th is a real brute, isn't it?
Yeah, that uphill. Yeah,
coming in there with a one-shot lead, not exactly comfortable.
It's a course that really is a test of execution, like a true test of execution. You've really got to hit your golf ball very well around there, and that's reflected in recent winners. Billy Horschel, very good ball striker. Patrick Cantlay, recent winner. John Rahm. Looking at the Australians in the field, we've got Cam Davis, Jason Day. Famously, it's Jason Day's home course, and again, a very good ball striker, but strangely has never performed well.
Yeah,
here.
Never really played well there.
bad
at
record,
all.
isn't it? It's bizarre.
And I'm not picking Jason Day because I think we're done with Jason Day for this year. He's had his little ascendancy up to the point where he had a win.
I'll be sure to pass on the message to him.
We're done with him. We're done with him now. So moving on from Jason Day. I will come back to Cam Davis. So Lucas Herbert, Dave Micheluzzi, as you mentioned, Adam Scott, and honorary Australian Ryan Fox is playing. Who do I think is a chance? So Cam Davis, I do think, is a genuine chance this week.
What's his record there? Did you have a look?
I haven't, no.
I only would have played there once or
I
twice.
don't think he
I'd
would have been a
suggest.
regular there, no.
Yep.
Obviously he had a very good PGA at a course which I think demands similar shot values, Oak Hill and Muirfield Village. Probably a lot of people hoped that he would do well last week at the Colonial, but I think that course ultimately didn't suit it. Like, it tamed his driving game.
He's not a guy that would play well at Colonial.
Correct.
He
And
opened
he
with
did-
68, and it was quite surprising, in all honesty.
Yeah.
2 missed cuts and a tied 53rd for Cam Davis at the Memorial.
Okay, well, we'll see how he
I don't
goes
think
this
that
week.
in any way predicts what might happen this
No,
week.
I think he's probably going into this week with a lot more confidence. And he's not my pick. I also like Shane Lowry as well, as just another name I want to mention. I think he's due a good result. He's
Agree with that.
playing very well, and this is a sort of course, I think. It's sort of a big, demanding, but sort of soft golf course, which I think is the sort of thing Shane Lowry does well on. But my pick this week is Victor Hovland. Sorry. So it caused
Sounded like it hurt.
bit of anguish for Rod there.
We really need to discuss these before we come on. Now I've got to go scrambling for another tip.
Well, that's true.
Well,
I'll go second. That's okay.
Shane Lowry.
Thanks.
Victor Hovland, my rationale here is that his career trajectory fits this as his next win. I think he's a little bit like Cam Smith, whose progression through winning tournaments was he won exactly the tournament he should win at every stage in his career.
Good point.
When it was time for Cam Smith to win a Players, he won a Players. When it was time for Cam Smith to win a major, he won a major, and so forth. He's got that career progression. Hovland, I think we've been impatient. We've been like, why doesn't he win a major or something? But no, he's won everything that he should have won at every point in his career so far. And I feel like Victor Hovland is due to win a tournament of this stature, a designated event. And this is the sort of course that's going to suit him. A great ball striker and that thick rough.
He's fixed his chipping too.
Well,
What
the
we
thick-
saw at
Well, the thick
Colonial,
rough
most
kind of
of it.
negates
nullifies
chipping.
it, so-
kind of negates
He
chipping
hit some
skill.
fabulous chip shots at the
Yeah.
weekend. He also I had him because he has to have surely used up all his bad shots on Sunday at Colonial. I mean, he should have won that tournament.
Yeah.
With 6 holes to go, he was like, give it to Victor, and then
So
he just went off the rails.
That's the thing. He's in tremendous form. But I think, this is a place where he can be a standout. Right. So,
Okay. This event actually throws up. There's often really top of their game players who win here, but also you get these slightly unexpected sort of veteran, experienced players winning here or playing well here, which I think Adam Scott is a big chance, but not my tip this week. I'm going to go with Ricky Fowler. So he was 6th last week at Colonial after he missed the cut at the PGA. He's had 11 top 25s this season, and he's finished inside the top 15 here 5 times with 2 runner-up finishes. So
He's on a bit of a Jason Day.
he's on a bit of a trajectory, and you would think
we'll
he
be
would
done with him in a few weeks. But
Yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
that's right. Ricky, make the most of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, while the sun shines.
That's right.
sunshine.
So, Ricky Fowler for me. Rod?
I'm going to go boring. I'm going to go Scotty Scheffler. Surely he can't keep beating the field by 7 strokes gained every week and not winning.
he's got to putt better.
Yeah, he's not putting terribly.
No.
They just don't seem to be going in. And at some point, that's going to turn around. He actually looks remarkably relaxed and energetic for a guy who's played an awful lot of very high-pressure golf at the high-pressure end of tournaments these last 3 weeks.
I worry he's played a lot.
He's played a lot.
Really
Yeah.
has played a lot. Well, that would be why I initially didn't think about him this week. But he might be searching for that putting thing that's then going to work for the rest of the year. So, look, I'll get off Hovland and I'll get on Scheffler because you just can't keep hitting it that good. 10 straight rounds or something, he's been 6 to 7 strokes gained on the field.
I think that was a panicked pick. I've unsettled
It is a panicked
you.
pick.
Yeah.
You've thrown me
rattled
off.
him.
I gave you Shane Lowry, but that's
What am I going to say about Shane Lowry? I haven't even looked at anything to do with him, but I know that Scotty Scheffler's hitting it like an absolute god.
Okay.
And this is, as you say, the ball striker's golf course. So
Yeah.
that's going
Okay.
to be part of it.
All right, next we're going to head for New Jersey and Liberty National for the inaugural Mizuho Americas Open on the LPGA Tour. Fun fact, Mizuho is a financial group and the word means abundant rice.
Or a fresh harvest of rice. Looks like
There
we
you go.
both went looking for the same thing.
For more interesting and useful knowledge, Rod Morri.
Really an interesting event this week. So Michelle Wee West is the host.
Correct.
Which is sort of her follow-up. She announced her stepping away from competitive golf last year. She'll play the US Open, but that's about it most times. Liberty National, an interesting golf course, hosted the President's Cup there, several PGA Tour events, somewhat controversial venue, like that only. They've been trying to access some of the national park next door to build another 3 holes. The course itself, after it was built, was pretty controversial. Tom Kite and Bob Cupp, if I recall. It opened in 2006, and by 2013, PGA Tour players were demanding all sorts of changes be made to it because it was too difficult.
It's a good sign, generally.
Yeah. Spectacular location, looking directly across at the Statue of Liberty. Now, the players this week, I didn't realise this. I don't know if this is true for the PGA Tour. I'm sure there's a lot of comping goes on. But, of course, on the LPGA, you get no accommodation assistance. Players look after their own accommodation. Well, this week that's different. They're all staying in a downtown hotel where the President's Cup players stayed back in 2017. They're going to get the ferry across every morning. So that's a nice touch. And that's this Michelle Wee influence, this sort of looking after the players idea, all the dining options and those sorts of things. So, look, it'll be interesting. It's only a field of 120, $2.75 million purse, which is going to attract a fair field. We'll come to that in a minute. I'll tell you what I do think is interesting. This Mizuho, Japanese bank / financial services company, they are huge. I'd never heard of them. So I went looking for them as you did. They've got something like $2 trillion in assets and 55,000 employees around the world. So, and they apparently did look at sponsoring a PGA Tour event or some other men's sport, but they decided that what they really want to do, and it does seem, take them at the word, it does seem like they might be genuine about promoting women and women in business and women generally. So they opted for an LPGA event, to their eternal credit, I have to say. And this is an expensive way to go about sponsoring an LPGA tournament, what they've done.
Create a whole new event.
Yeah, a whole new event.
And host it in a place that the PGA Tour doesn't go very often because it's exceptionally expensive to host tournaments in New York,
yeah, that's
New
exactly
Jersey,
right.
that
I mean,
sort of
New
area.
Jersey, you're not going to get much more expensive than around there.
No,
Nobody's
right.
staying local to the course. They're all going across the river to New York to stay. So, look, good on them. This really could be the start of something
Really good
you
field.
hope.
Ticking a lot of boxes.
It's ticking a lot of boxes. You'd prefer it not be at this particular venue, I would think. This has always been somewhat controversial, this venue. It's for all sorts of different reasons. But, look, that's where it is. Good luck to them. It's going to be an experience for the players. We should see some good golf. I'll actually be interested to see the women play Liberty National.
Absolutely.
It is an interesting golf course. I think it's a great golf course, but it's an interesting golf course. Throws up some really interesting sort of challenges. And most of us on the international side have put the 2017 President's Cup out of our minds, which I think was
on
open
TV.
on
It's one of those courses that really
Saturday,
pops.
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, well, of course, the Statue of Liberty and the skyline and all of that.
But it's got really undulating sort of
there's some
features and
there's some really
it's impressive looking.
odd-looking bits and pieces too. So, look, it'll be interesting. Yeah, I think that President's Cup was over on Saturday night.
Oh, yeah,
They almost didn't have to play the singles.
That was one of the great
It was
whitewashes.
horrendous.
Yeah.
Anyway, $250 million to build too. Not a great ad for the game.
Okay.
One of the most expensive golf courses in the world. So there's
Any
all of that in
waterfalls?
Sorry?
Any waterfalls?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't
think
recall
there's any waterfalls.
that have been Liberty National. It's a proper golf club. I mean, it's for the rich and richer. But anyway, players. It's interesting who's not here in some ways this week. No Nelly Corder.
Well, both Corder sisters are injured at the
Oh,
moment.
is Nelly injured as well? I saw the Jessica story. I didn't realise Nelly was injured as well. Lexi Thompson, she's playing a very strange and light kind of schedule. Is she injured as well?
I think so.
Is it a wrist, finally?
No,
It has to be a left wrist, doesn't it?
I'd
At
have to
some point.
double-check.
That's got
I'd
to
have to
break
double-check.
impact at some point. So look, I thought that was interesting. But pretty much all the main players you'd expect, Lydia and Jin Young Ko, Lilia Vu, Brooke Henderson, Ataya Titikan, etc. Rose Zhang makes her debut as a professional. She is going to be something to watch.
Yeah.
This could be the start of something, and not beyond the realms of possibility for her to win this week at all.
Has she had a lot of? I was wondering about this because I haven't seen it pop up on LPGA leaderboards. Has she had many starts?
She's played a fair bit.
A few majors.
A few majors and stuff like that, but for not a huge amount for that sort of player.
Yeah, it's a question mark, isn't it?
Has played a lot more college golf than any of these sort of top flight players would typically play, and that's reflected by the amount of wins and her achievements. But no, hasn't played a huge amount for a player of that sort of calibre.
You'd be surprised if she didn't go on, though. I can't see.
Yeah, I'd struggle to see.
A bit like Tiger, she has learnt to win.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's not that it gets easier as you move up the ranks, but for her, being around the top of the leaderboard is not going to be as uncomfortable a feeling as it is for a lot of other new players. That takes some getting used to, that big fish in a little pond to little fish in a big pond. She's going in as a medium-sized fish. There will be a lot of attention on her this week, and she needs to get used to that, particularly if she plays well. So it really will be interesting to see. She could be the next sort of standout player that gets a bit of traction outside the game.
Yep. Absolutely.
With a bit of luck,
agree with
that would be terrific to see. Australians in the field, Sarah Jane Smith qualified. Good on her. Well done. That's a good tournament to qualify.
That's
for.
a good
Free
event to get into,
accommodation.
yeah.
The ferry
Nice
across every day. It's nice. Minjee Lee, Steph Kiriakou, Grace Kim. Hannah Green among those not playing.
Yes.
She really manages her schedule, Hannah. I'm really
Greeny's
impressed
been back in Australia. She's been in Perth for a couple of weeks. So
Yep, I really like the way she goes about managing her schedule. She's figured out what works for her, and there's none of this, you have to play this and you have to play that, and that's the biggest purse. If she feels that coming home and having 3 weeks in Perth is the best thing for her, that's what she does.
she knows she's going to have a busy back end with all the majors coming up, so she's got to prepare herself as best she can.
Yeah. You feel like she had her very first year on tour, I think, in the US, where she got a bit exhausted. She was like, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, she's been really good, Hannah, at working out what works for her and sticking to it and the pressure on her would be enormous. She would have been pressured to play this tournament. They would have been, come on, we need name players. We need, in Europe. And she's a popular player globally, not just in Australia and the US. So there'd be a lot of people putting pressure on her, but she sticks to her guns, and part of what makes her such a good player and why she'll have a terrific career in the end. And Grace Kim, I don't know if I mentioned Grace Kim, Steph Kiriakou, Minjee, the Australians in the field alongside Sarah Jane Smith. I didn't see her in the field list.
I thought Karis was one of the last in, so
you might be right.
Stand by.
Stand by, yeah. You can do that for me, Logue.
Current
Whilst
year.
I give my tip.
Yep, she's in.
Yep.
Oh, good. Okay, and Karis Davidson. Had a decent week last week.
Had a decent week last week and ran into some good opposition in the match.
Yeah.
So, well done, Karis.
I'm going to tip Leona Maguire this week. She should have been my tip last week. I tossed up between her and Gemma. I should have gone Leona Maguire. She was a genuine chance until she met the buzzsaw that was Ayaki Furuway in the semi-final. What a player she is. So I'm going to go with Leona this week.
Maybe fired up after she unfollowed her own blocked her own tracker account.
What was that about?
Oh, those tracker accounts, please.
I saw that. That was good.
Those are no, I'm not on board with that. Logue, a tip?
I'm glad I'm going second because I think this is a good one I want to grab from you, Jimmy, is Ataya Titakun.
Okay.
Good for everyone.
Well, I mean, she's a class player, but it's a big golf course, but she's got a big game to match. I think she's got all the weapons.
You're doing nothing to steal from me because I'm going for Brooke Henderson.
Okay.
He's had a bit of a patchy year so far, but even one of the bigger names last week and struggled in the match play, which kind of surprised, and that would have hurt a little bit. And again, big golf course, big player. This is, perfect for her kind of thing. So I'd expect her to play pretty well.
She's fabulous, Brooke. When she's at the top of the game's better.
Exactly.
I love to watch her play and everything about her. She
shows up for big events like this too that are maybe not necessarily the biggest but important, so she tends to appear there, so that's good. Finally, we're going to go to Germany and Green Eagle golf courses for the Porsche European Open. Tournament that was once upon a time played across England, Ireland and Scotland, but then disappeared off the schedule for a while before it came back in 2015 when it moved to Germany. Like last week's KLM Open, we got an impressive list of past winners that includes Australians Mike Harwood, Peter Senior, Greg Norman and Graham Marsh, while Finland's Kalle Samuja won last year. So the North course at Green Eagle is one of the longest courses in the world. Over 7,000 metres. That would be metres, not yards. Okay. And is rated as the hardest course in Germany. So, thrilling prospect for architecture.
Has it got a horrible horseshoe or a snake pit or a bear trap? Has it got anything? Surely
it's got water in play on 17 holes.
Fabulous.
Big undulating greens, and it's basically just designed to beat the players up.
Waterfalls?
No, I'm sure there's rocks that water tumbles over.
Of course.
Okay. All right.
But we've got a best winning total.
How can I take them seriously if they haven't got a waterfall? Best winning total of 14 under par in its 5 or so years as host. So it's not a birdie fest. So your usual sort of cast of characters,
from the DP World Tour, I'd say the standouts are probably Victor Perez, Thorbjorn Olesen, Robert McIntyre. Then you got your Kiradech Affy Barnrats and Jorge Campillos and all that sort of stuff as well. From the Australian side of things, Jason Scrivener and Blake Windred are our two only starters this week. In terms of a winner, I mentioned him last week and then didn't tip him. So this week I'm going with Mike Lorenzo Vera, who had a hole-in-one in Holland and finished 12th, and is statistically at least one of the best putters in Europe this season, which is probably going to be important at a golf course that's stupid long and hard.
More important, great character.
Yeah,
Great facial
Got
hair.
personality to burn.
Great facial hair.
Didn't
great
you
wear
pick him
of a
last
visor.
week? You might have picked him last week.
Jimmy mentioned him last week.
No, I used him
sorry.
as my lead-in to tipping someone else, so
Okay.
I'm going to actually show some gumption for once, Logan.
Okay. That felt like a personal attack.
Yeah, take it as you will.
Okay. You're throwing to me for my pick?
Yeah, go for your life.
I'm going with Scotland's Ewan Ferguson. He's had a few recent top tens, and I think he's a fine player, and he's my pick for this week. Nothing further to say about that.
Beautifully researched, Logue. Yeah. How far down the list was he on the player list?
I was.
Did you get past the fold?
I did. I went all the way to the bottom and back all the way to the top. And I clicked on a few names and looked at recent results, and Ewan Ferguson had recent top.
It's actually a good player. Did quite well during
Fine
COVID,
player.
if I'm not mistaken.
He won a couple of times.
Yeah.
Really good player.
Yeah, really
very,
last
very
week.
solid
I did look at Appy Barnrat as well because he had a good.
He played
good
well
week
last week. The
Yeah.
Barnrat. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I've not seen that happening 2 weeks in a row. So
I'm going to go with Guido Migliozzi because he will be
gotta
as
happen at some point.
motivated as anybody to make that Ryder Cup team in September in Rome. He's got that extra motivation. Hasn't done a whole lot this year. Missed the cut here last year with an 81 in the opening round, which sounds horrendous, but given what you've told us, Jimmy, is maybe not as bad as it sounds. But he was tied 7th the year before.
Okay.
So he can play the course decently. Of course, hit the shot of the year so far at, was it this year or last year, that shot that he hit at Le Golf National into the 18th? That cut 3-wood across the water to the, that's just an extraordinary golf shot. Anybody who can do that can do anything, including shoot 81. But I do think the motivation for him will be all year will be that September Ryder Cup. So anything he can do to impress Luke Donald, he'll be looking to do. So I'm going to pick him this week.
And it's quite open Ryder Cup realistically from the European side, given everything going on. So those sort of players genuinely have a chance. So
I can't understand that whole Brooks Koepka, Brad Faxon, Chambly thing after the PGA. Surely people within the industry understand the difference between the Tour and the PGA and all this angst about whether Koepka, they'd be mad not to pick Koepka even if he doesn't qualify. Don't you reckon?
Oh, absolutely.
Americans won't stand for it.
No.
I mean, this is about country. It's not about tour, which is the point that Chambly extraordinarily just missed completely, it seems to me.
On the European side, it is far less about that.
It's all about the tour.
It's far more about tour.
It funds the tour. Without the Ryder Cup, the European Tour would have died 30 years
and
ago. Forget about becoming a secondary tour in this day.
And as non-members, you're not playing. So, yeah.
Which is really interesting. Well, you wonder whether they'll find a way around that because
it's
it
not,
really
a good, not a good thing for everyone.
It really tests the rhetoric we've seen for so long about this being, above and beyond week-to-week golf. The Ryder Cup is special. It's for, for king and country and all that sort of stuff. We'll find out if that's really the case come September by who gets to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's really about that, it should be above that. So,
all right. That's all we've got for a fairly light week in terms of professional golf.
It is a light week.
It is a light week.
Yeah.
3 events. We don't get that very often.
It's a live week.
Believe me, it gets busy next week. So we'll be back next week to either sing our own praises if we've had success or ignore our failures. In the meantime, you can head to golfaustralia.com.au for all the updates across the week and go out and get your copy of the June issue of Golf Australia magazine with John Rahm on the cover and the US Open preview. That's it for episode 16 of Playing from the Tips.